Hello, welcome to another video. Please like, share and subscribe for more amazing story. True God in Another Worlds, Tensura x Tbate, by Tempest_King_20. Chapter 36 Rumors Dragonspine Inn, 2 years later. Insignificant Adventurer's Pov. I clinked my mug of ice-cold beer down on the wooden table as I settled into my chair. The dimly lit pub was bustling with activity, filled with the chatter of adventurers and the clink of glasses. I leaned in closer to my table partner, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Hey, did you catch wind of the latest rumor?" The burly man sitting across from me emptied his ale with a hearty swig before slamming it on the table with a loud thud. His face was flushed, and his eyes were glazed, indicating that he was already well on his way to being drunk. "If you're talking about those so-called famous masked swordsmen, I say it's complete hogwash." From his rosy cheeks to his unfocused eyes, it didn't require a genius to discern his inebriation. "No, listen, it could be true. An acquaintance of mine allegedly teamed up with them once. They're often seen traveling with Jasmine Flamesworth, so they stand out." A skinny lad with his hair tightly tied in a bun chimed in, joining our conversation. The impatient drunkard interjected, his voice slurred. "Well, spill it then. What did your acquaintance have to say about them?" "Well, they went together to explore a minor dungeon that had been cleared before. Apparently, they're pretty short. I think the rumors are true in that they're not mages," the skinny lad said as he shook his head in disbelief. "Rubbish. Absolute rubbish. They must be augmenters, or these rumors are merely exaggerated tales. Have you heard some of the outlandish stories circulating about them? There are even whispers that they single-handedly cleared dungeons on their own. Is that even possible? B-class augmenters would struggle with such a feat, let alone two ordinary swordsmen." The burly man waved his empty mug, beckoning for a refill of his beer. "Yeah, I agree. It's best to take those rumors with a grain of salt. That solo clear rumor. Didn't the guy also mention that Jasmine Flamesworth accompanied him? So, it's likely she provided assistance inside." I took a sip of my beer, feeling a slight buzz creeping in. "Exactly, I'm telling you, dunderheads. That swordsman can't possibly be that formidable. Half of those rumors are probably attributed to Jasmine Flamesworth herself. And those short-statured pretenders dared to call themselves swordsmen. Bring them here. I'd challenge them any day." The conversation at our table grew louder as the burly man's intoxication escalated. The topic of the enigmatic masked swordsman, Noir, had become the subject of fervent speculation and heated discussions amongst the bustling community of adventurers. Whispers and tales spread like wildfire, intertwining with imagination and exaggeration. Some whispered behind closed doors that the duo were once apprentices of the renowned Jasmine Flamesworth, a fiercely skilled warrior whose reputation had reached legendary status. Yet, the notion of such prestigious tutelage seemed far-fetched, an embellishment woven into the fabric of their mystique. Despite the skepticism surrounding their origins, one irrefutable fact commanded attention. Noir had risen through the ranks with unprecedented speed, their ascent defying the bounds of expectation. They had successfully passed the rigorous A-rank exam, leaving onlookers and fellow adventurers dumbfounded. The achievement had not come without controversy, fueling whispers of cheating and disbelief. Yet, despite the accusations, one undisputable truth remained. They had now climbed even higher, reaching the esteemed A-class status in an astonishingly short span of 3 years. It was a feat that left many awestruck, their voices tinged with envy as they traded tales of the duo's extraordinary exploits. Lost in the throng of eager listeners, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy. For 3 long years, I had fought tirelessly, only to be thwarted in my attempts to ascend a single class. My position languished on the precipice of C rank, a disheartening reminder of my seemingly insurmountable barriers. The daunting exams that stood between me and my dreams were not to be trifled with. Each class bore unique requirements, designed to separate the novice from the accomplished, the average from the elite. To attain coveted A rank, visioned as the realm of the exceptional, examinees were relentlessly tested in combat. They faced a formidable 2-on-1 battle against 2 A-ranked adventurers, their endurance and skill pushed to their very limits, their mettle tested under the unyielding gaze of judges. Only those who could withstand the onslaught and persist for a grueling 10 minutes were deemed worthy of A rank. Advancing even further, to the revered A-class, demanded an even greater display of fortitude and mastery. Examinees had to prove themselves in a ruthless battlefield, where victories were etched in the blood-soaked earth or obtained through sheer tenacity. The aspirants would need to emerge triumphant over their adversaries or simply survive the merciless onslaught for an arduous half-hour. Curiously, when rumors reached those who had witnessed Note and Noir's exams, they claimed that Note was an augmenter. The rumor gained traction as adventurers who had explored dungeons with them attested that Note never wielded mana in conjunction with his sword. Others, disentangling the threads of speculation, murmured that Noir's formidable prowess might have blossomed under the tutelage of Jackson Morgan, a renowned adventurer who had attained the esteemed status of S rank. Such rumors introduced a lingering question that gnawed at my thoughts. Were Note and Noir truly prodigiously skilled, their ascent born from tireless dedication and innate talent? Or was there some hidden advantage, a cheat code exploited with clandestine precision? The mere concept of ascending a full rank in a mere 3 years seemed fanciful, stretching the limits of credulity. Yet, it was impossible to deny the undeniable prowess that emanated from their every move, their combat proficiency seemingly unmatched. Caught in the web of speculation, those around me began to express their own unease. The burly man, now somewhat sobered, appeared visibly irked by the notion that these diminutive swordsmen could stand superior to him. After all, he was a seasoned B-class augmenter, a fact that filled him with considerable pride and ensured his status as a force to be reckoned with. However, the existence of these masked swordsmen, surpassing him with seemingly effortless stride, chipped away at his ego, igniting a flicker of competitive fire within him. The door to the pub creaked open, and I dropped the fork in my hand as I caught sight of a figure entering. My heart skipped a beat as I recognized one of the infamous masquerades, known for their wild rumors. Well, speak of the devil. The little midget swordsman everyone's hyped up about is here. Where's your little guardian? Or your little friend? The burly man got up from his seat with a snide grin on his face, cheeks still red. The masked swordsman lifted his head, his blue eyes peering through the small slits in his mask. He wore a simple black coat that came down to his mid-thigh, and the hood covered their head. If you looked closely, you could see that he was an odd sight. The masked figure stood at around 1.6 meters tall, which wasn't particularly tall. He had a very slim figure which suggested he was either a normal person or a conjurer. Strapped behind him was a short sword on top and a sleek black stuff on the bottom. Some of the patrons couldn't help but wonder if it was actually a staff and not just a decorative item. The masked man didn't seem interested in the taunts and instead walked past the burly man as if he wasn't even worth acknowledging. Hey bastard. Are you ignoring me? Just because you got famous for these stupid rumors, you think you're better than me? The angry adventurer spoke out loud as he seemed to grab his giant sword from his back. Calm down. You know we're not allowed to kill anyone here. I tried to stop him, holding his arms to prevent him from swinging his sword around. The masked man continued to walk towards the main balcony of the place, still ignoring the scene unfolding before him. This made the drunk man even more agitated, with his body and sword reinforcing themselves in mana, both emitting a silvery glow. He swung his giant sword at the masked man with all his might, but contrary to what I expected, the sword created a small crater in the ground next to the masked man. I breathed a sigh of relief as the burly man had enough sense not to kill the little swordsman, but he had wanted to come across as intimidating. The air grew tense as the burly man swung his sword again, lifting it out of the small depression he had made on the ground. The customers seated in the dining room of the inn were all staring now, some even cheering for gore. With mana reinforcing his body and his giant sword, no matter how drunk he was, his power and speed were no joke. He attacked with a flurry of swings that obliterated the wooden seats and tables in his way, but no matter how much he attacked, his sword always missed. The man's sword was met with empty air as the masked swordsman dipped and swayed to avoid everything. The crazy part, though, was that he didn't take a single step from his position. After about a minute-long barrage of attacks by the burly man and his giant sword, he was sweating profusely as his face wrinkled with frustration, but he was more cautious now as he took a step back. Is dodging all you can do? I guess your guardian did all of the hard work for you while all you did was run away. The man gave him a menacing smile, still confident that he could win against the masked man. He put both hands on the grip of his sword and swung again, this time much faster than his previous attacks. With a sharp clang, the burly drunk's giant sword that probably weighed more than the masked man himself was sent flying across the room, but I didn't know how. The sound made it seem like the sword had been met with metal from another sword, but I couldn't see it. I didn't even see the masked swordsman pull out his weapon. "Are you done?" the masked man asked calmly, his voice barely above a whisper, yet spoken with an undeniable authority that sent shivers down my spine. The dimly lit tavern fell deadly silent, as if the air itself held its breath, waiting for his next move. I glanced over at the disheveled drunkard. Before he could utter a coherent response, a sense of impending doom washed over us all, suffocating the room like heavy smog. It was as if the atmosphere suddenly thickened, pressing against my chest, squeezing out any trace of breathable air. I fought to take in a breath, but it felt as if I was trapped at the bottom of a murky, unforgiving ocean. Panic clawed at the edges of my mind, suffocating my thoughts with fear. This was something beyond comprehension, beyond the realm of mortal understanding. The masked man stood before us. I strained to catch a glimpse of his face beneath the mask, but it remained obscured, leaving only the dark void of the unknown. Yet, it was the aura that emanated from him that sent tremors through my core. It seemed as if a sinister darkness coiled around him, alive and hungry, yearning to consume all in its wake. The killing intent, so potent and undeniable, threatened to unsettle my very soul. I had heard tales of elite fighters capable of exuding a force that made even the most formidable of beasts cower in fear. But this was something else entirely. It was a malevolent force that could slice through flesh and shatter bones, an existential threat that had no regard for life itself. Slowly, fearfully, I turned my head to face the masked man. His eyes glowed with an unnerving intensity, burning like fiery coals within the depths of his mask. A chill raced down my spine as I took in the gravity of his presence. Sweat trickled down my brow, mingling with the icy tendrils of terror that gripped me. The drunkard, previously foolishly defiant, became a mere shell of his former self. His eyes widened, mirroring the terror that had taken hold of his spirit. His body froze, rigid and lifeless, as if touched by an otherworldly force. Incoherent mutterings spilled from his quivering lips, mingling with his tears that flowed freely. His moistened trousers bore witness to the extent of his sheer terror. As abruptly as it had descended upon us, the bloodthirsty miasma receded. The oppressive weight lifted, and I greedily drew in gulps of the now refreshing air. My lungs burned in protest, causing me to cough and sputter, but it was a small price to pay for the release from that suffocating grip. With an air of finality, the masked man turned away from us, his attention now fixated upon the trembling waitress at the front desk. She shrank back, her face drained of all color, eyes widened in sheer terror. Her throat seemed to close up, leaving her incapable of uttering more than a whimper. "I believe there's a sack of rations under the name. Note that a friend of mine ordered not too long ago," the masked man spoke, his voice resonating with a commanding authority that brooked no argument. "Why, yes. I'll get that for you right away." As if summoned by his words, the waitress nodded frantically, her hands shaking as she retrieved the requested package. Placing it before the masked man, she dared not meet his gaze, her trembling body a testament to her fear. He acknowledged it with a slight nod, his eyes never leaving the sack of rations. In a scene frozen with trepidation, he turned and left, the weight of his presence lingering long after his departure. "Arthur Lewin Pov. Why did it take you so long?" Jasmine asked, her voice laced with impatience. She divided the food into separate pouches attached to the saddles of our horses, her fingers moving swiftly and efficiently. I chuckled softly, trying to hide the mischievous glint in my eyes. I had a little quarrel with one of the adventurers at the inn. Ha ha. Jasmine's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering across her features. She knew me too well, always anticipating the trouble I managed to find myself in. "What did you do this time?" she asked, her tone a mix of amusement and exasperation. "Don't worry, it was nothing serious," I reassured her, waving a dismissive hand in the air. "I didn't even lay a finger on the guy. Just a little friendly banter, that's all." She rolled her eyes, but a small smile played at the corners of her mouth. "You and your friendly banter," she muttered under her breath, shaking her head in mock disbelief. Grabbing the reins of her horse, she mounted effortlessly and gave a sharp snap, urging the animal to move forward. "Come on, let's not waste any more time," she called over her shoulder. I followed suit, hoisting myself onto my own horse and joining her side. Our horses fell into a steady rhythm, their hooves echoing against the ground as we pressed onward towards our destination. As the wind brushed against my face, my mind began to wander back to the events of the past 2 years. Jasmine, with her unwavering determination, had been adamant about rejoining us on our journey to explore the dungeon ahead. However, his training under the watchful eye of Director Goodsky had kept him from joining us, much to our disappointment. During our relentless pursuit to increase our class ranks, Jasmine had managed to rise through the ranks herself, achieving the prestigious S-class status. While there was still a slight level difference between her and Jackson, her growth and improvement were undeniable. When we weren't on missions or delving into dangerous dungeons, we spent countless hours sparring, pushing each other to our limits, and honing our skills to perfection. Thanks to Ri's deal with the Guild Master, we were privileged to receive numerous high-ranking monster cores, some of which even contained a powerful beast will. These opportunities for growth had granted us the chance to continuously evolve and become stronger. In the quiet serenity of the night, I dedicated countless hours to the practice of meditation. Through sheer determination and unwavering focus, I had managed to break through the barriers and ascend into the solid yellow stage. Jasmine, on the other hand, had surpassed my expectations and achieved the mid-silver stage, a testament to her relentless pursuit of excellence. And then there was Ri, a prodigy in his own right. At a mere 12 years old, he had already reached the high silver stage, a feat that amazed all who knew him. Chuckling to myself, it became clear that his extraordinary abilities were nothing to be surprised about. After all, he was not an ordinary boy but a god in his own realm. Amidst our perilous missions and moments of respite, Ri and I had taken it upon ourselves to assist Jasmine in fine-tuning her swordsmanship. With careful observation and keen attention to detail, we pinpointed flaws in her techniques and shared the knowledge we had accumulated from our past lives. Jasmine, born and trained as a fire mage, faced the unique challenge of acclimatizing to her newfound element, urging her to create her own unique techniques. And create she did, deftly wielding her double-bladed technique with grace and precision. As for my own swordplay, it had experienced a profound transformation. Guided by Ri's and Sylvia's sage advice, I had become intimately familiar with my body's movements, mastering its intricacies. Through ceaseless practice and an unwavering resolve, I had even managed to unlock Phase 2 of my dragon will, tapping into a power that had only ever existed within the realm of dreams. Amidst my reflection, memories of my family emerged, my father's dedication and boundless joy resonating deeply within me. We had bestowed upon him the mana core that Ri had obtained, his eyes lighting up with a mixture of awe and gratitude. Little did he know that within that core lay the essence of a formidable beast will. During our last visit home, I had been witness to his remarkable progress, already reaching the dark yellow stage. It was an achievement that surpassed all expectations and filled me with immense pride. The image of his infectious grin, boasting that our magical talents were inherited from him, still lingered vividly in my mind. And then there was Ellie, whose her mana core had also awakened, and Lilia, whose training had commenced under the guidance of the Academy's esteemed principal. The memory of Rimuru's suggestion to Director Goodsky, recommending Lilia's enrollment, sparked within me a curiosity. I couldn't help but wonder if one of the motivations behind this decision was to create the appearance that Rimuru had secured his place as a student solely due to her relationship with Uncle Vincent, who had played an instrumental role in the success of Xyrus Academy. "We're here," Jasmine's voice jolted me back to reality, and I lifted my gaze to behold a small clearing nestled within the dense foliage of the woods. Finally, we had arrived at the entrance of the dungeon. The clearing was cocooned by towering trees, their branches swaying rhythmically in the gentle wind. As we rode closer, my eyes were drawn to a group of adventurers busily disassembling their camp nearby. Some were meticulously inspecting and honing their gleaming weapons, while others efficiently packed up their assorted gear. "I guess we're stuck with more augmenters," came a voice I knew all too well, dripping with disdain as its owner clicked his tongue. Sliding off my mount, I strode purposefully towards the group of adventurers, only to have the blonde fire conjurer from the examination site shoot me a look of undisguised distaste. Jasmine trailed behind me silently. As we approached, an armored augmenter stepped forward, his hand extended in a gesture of greeting. "Please disregard Lucas," he said, nodding towards the blonde conjurer. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Reginald Brooks, an A- class augmenter. I specialize in earth attributes and wield this formidable hammer." He pointed to the massive warhammer resting nonchalantly on the ground beside the group. Reginald loomed above us, an imposing figure that easily surpassed 2 meters in height. His short, unruly brown hair matched the intensity of his eyes, which peered out from behind a thick, bushy beard that adorned his square jaw. Broad shoulders and a powerful physique exuded an aura of strength and intimidation. The augmenters in the group, excluding Jasmine and myself, consisted of Reginald, Creel, and Brauld. Creel was a very defensive, water attribute augmenter that only wielded a gigantic shield as his weapon. He was a head shorter than Reginald with a large belly that indicated the man loved his beer by the barrel. Despite his stature, I could tell he was strong just by how firm his body was overall, despite his belly that squeezed out of his armor. Brauld presented a more dignified image, standing just a little short of Reginald in height. Clad in a gleaming white metal armor that only covered his shoulders and chest, he exuded an air of nobility. A luxurious mantle flowed regally behind him as he approached, his trimmed blonde hair and sharp hazel eyes lending him an irresistible charm. To my surprise, he acted with the grace of a gentleman, extending a handshake and offering an innocent smile. "Call me Brauld. I recently achieved A class, light yellow stage as an augmenter. My specialization lies in fire attributes, with the broadsword and shield as my weapons of choice. Today, I will lead our party," he announced proudly, though his eyes seemed to shy away slightly when he met Jasmine's gaze. After the augmenters had introduced themselves, it was the turn of the conjurers to step forward. Among them stood Lucas, alongside 3 others. One was a lean man, while the other was a young girl. The last conjurer, however, stood out with his serious demeanor and bespectacled black hair. I strained my memory, trying to recall his name. "I am Elijah Knight, an A- class conjurer at the Dark Orange stage. I specialize solely in Earth," he said tersely. I couldn't help but scrutinize him closely. There had to be more than just Earth magic to earn him a place in the B rank without taking the exam, no matter how young he was. Next in line was the lanky man with beady eyes, easily in his 30s. Despite his less than attractive appearance, a smug grin crept across his face, his crooked nose and greasy brown hair divided down the middle. "Ahem. I am Oliver, an A- class conjurer at the Dark Yellow stage. I excel in healing as an emitter deviant." He thrust out his jaw in a display of arrogance, crossing his arms with satisfaction. Though his attitude left much to be desired, it was certainly comforting to have a healer within our ranks. The final conjurer introduced herself with a burst of energy and cheerfulness. "Hi, I'm Samantha, but feel free to call me Sammy. I'm a Dark Yellow stage, a class conjurer specializing in water magic. It's a pleasure to be of service." She flashed a wink in my direction, her wavy blonde hair cascading down her shoulders as her light blue eyes, edged with a touch of gray, sparkled mischievously. With her petite stature and innocent-looking eyes, Samantha exuded an aura of deceptive innocence, adept at capturing the attention and sidelong glances of the men nearby. Oliver, in particular, seemed quite captivated. Jasmine spoke up, her voice steady and confident. "I am Jasmine, a mid-silver stage, S-class augmenter. Wind attribute with deviant in sound and dual dagger. Note: solid yellow stage, A-class augmenter. Fire attribute with specialization in sword," I added impatiently. Brauld smiled at us. "Welcome, you two. I'm certainly glad to have another AA class in the group. And an S class too. So, Ms. Jasmine, will you be leading us today since you have the highest rank among us?" The other 2 augmenters nodded in enthusiastic agreement, their eyes gleaming with approval. Oliver and Lucas, on the other hand, seemed utterly apathetic, their faces devoid of interest. Amidst it all, Elijah maintained his stoic composure, while Samantha's piercing gazes aimed to uncover the truth beneath my mask. Jasmine offered a humble shake of her head, disagreeing with Brauld's suggestion. "No, Brauld. As you mentioned in the recruitment post, you've already been to this dungeon before. It only seems fair for you to lead us," she replied, her gaze determined and focused solely on him. "I can't help but ask. Mr. Note, there have been various rumors about you saying that you are not an augmenter, yet you clearly just announced that you are," Reginald queried, picking up his giant hammer and holding it up on his shoulder. With calm composure, I responded, attempting to appear nonchalant. "Indeed, there have been rumors, but I haven't utilized my magic in quite some time due to personal reasons. That likely led to the spread of those false notions." Observing my reluctance to delve into the topic further, Reginald coughed awkwardly and set up the formation for the party. "Very well, if everyone is in agreement, let's press forward," Brauld declared with a resolute tone. The arrangement dictated that Brauld would take point, utilizing his expertise in wielding a shield and sword. Reginald and I, both skilled offensive augmenters, would flank his side. Creel, equipped with a colossal shield, would vigilantly guard the rear, while Jasmine, poised and deadly, positioned herself beside him, prepared to fend off any threats that might slip by. Our primary focus was protecting the four conjurers, Oliver positioned centrally as our main healer, ensuring his safety above all else. This dungeon was deemed A-class, meaning parties with only a class and above were allowed to enter. Brauld recently found out that there was a hidden tunnel that led to an unexplored portion of the dungeon, which we would be going into today. This meant that most of our dungeon exploring would be through uncharted areas. Everyone unsheathed their weapons while even the conjurers wiped their smug expressions as we stepped into the foreboding entrance, the dungeon ominously dubbed the Dire Tombs by its first explorers. Dash 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 dash. Hello guys. I hope you enjoyed this chapter. I understand that it may not have met everyone's expectations, so I wanted to let you know that there are 3 additional side chapters that have already been uploaded. 2 of these side chapters focus on the dungeon, while the other one delves into the academy. In the next main chapter, I have decided to skip over some details and start the story right when the characters enter the boss room. This decision has been made to propel the plot forward and avoid unnecessary repetition. To add depth and variety to the narrative, occasional side chapters will be uploaded. These side steps will explore different aspects of the world and characters, giving you a more comprehensive experience. I want to sincerely thank each and every one of you for your support and dedication to this story. Your feedback and enthusiasm mean the world to me. Until next time, take care and all the best.